Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Thank you all for coming. I'm Joe Cordino, the mayor of Pinecrest. Can you hear me? This is yes. Good. Thank you. We appreciate that. I wanted to introduce some people that we're very thankful for. Vice Mayor Sherry Ball. She is here in the building. Councilmember Anna Huffler is here. Our staff is Michelle Hammondtree. We have Mark Spanoli. We have Angela Gasca. And Anna Pascal. Thank you all. You all have done a great job, and we couldn't be here without it. This is kind of the tail end of an initiative we really started about a year ago as we started doing some of our visioning for the village of Pinecrest. And we ramped it up. And last year during our budgeting process, we were able to retire a bond, and we had determined that we needed to go through some visioning this year to see if we wanted to, or how, and to what extent we would open up a new bond to replace the old one. But if you recall, last August and last September, we had Hurricane Irma, and that kind of got in the way of our plans. And what we really then decided to do was create this thing we called Inspire Pinecrest, because we realized that we kind of got lucky during the hurricane last year. We sustained a lot of damage, and we needed to be better prepared for the next storm, which definitely will be coming, if not this year, soon after. So we're going to bolster our responses. And so we set about looking at all of the things that we kind of felt had gone wrong during the storm. Water, electricity, debris removal, those types of things. Some of them are our responsibility. Many of them are our partners' responsibility, like FPL, like AT&T, like Miami-Dade County, like the state of Florida. And we figured, how can we put together initiatives that we can team with our partners and make sure that we have that we are successful in case the next storm happens. And so what we've done is we held Inspire Pinecrest, which we did on a weekday evening and a weekend over, I think, the winter time, where we had really great turnout and got a lot of good information. And then we are concluding, as we've educated ourselves, found out some facts about our initiatives, with workshops on each of the individual issues. And tonight we're talking about resiliency. And when we talk about resiliency, we're really focused on solar panels, generators, natural gas. And the fact is that we started with the idea that electricity was a major problem in the community. And we thought, well, what's it going to take to solve the problem and underground the power lines? And what we found out was it's practically infeasible to go through that type of exercise. It would likely cost close to $35,000 a home to underground the electrical power lines. It's a project that would take close to 10 years to finish, and then require an all or nothing vote on behalf of the village to generate a bond. And so that looked attractive at first, but it's too expensive and it takes too long, when you note that what we'll learn tonight is likely you can put solar panels and battery packs on your house for about the same price anytime you want, without a vote of your neighbors, achieve the ability to have power after a storm, all for relative the same cost as undergrounding the power lines. Similarly, you can probably put a full house generator in your house for about that same cost as well. The good thing about solar, it is that it will eventually pay you back. So it's an a very good investment, as opposed to the other things that really only affect you for the way we're counting it. And over the last 20 years, this happens. We're saving it. We go out about 2 weeks every decade due to these storms, hopefully no more than that. But the generator or the electrical power saves you the inconvenience of 2 weeks every 20 years for about $30,000. So with that, we are exploring our resiliency efforts. And to see if that makes any sense, we've partnered with our Solar United Neighbors of Florida, right? Jody Finver is here. She's going to help us out. We partnered with the Pace District. We've got all types of vendors outside there that can help us educate ourselves, try to take the complexity out of this thing, make it simple. I've actually myself educated and signed up for the Solar Cooperative this winter, and I guess I'm likely to put solar panels on my house this year, so I'll be going off the grid. So with that, Jody, would you like to explain? Thank you all for coming. If you have any questions, myself, the council, and the staff are all here. We'll stay afterwards and answer them, or come get us anytime you need us. Thank you.
all, and I'm going to move this way because I'm going to stand on my toes. Hi, I am Jody Finver. I am the South Florida Program Coordinator for a nonprofit called Solar United Neighbors. We conduct information sessions across the county. We organize co-ops. And what I'm going to be taking you through this evening isn't our traditional information session. What we're going to be talking about specifically is solar and how you can use solar during a grid outage. So we'll jump into things that we are one of many programs created through Solar United Neighbors. We started back in 2007 with two 12-year-old boys, Walter and Diego, who lived in Mount Pleasant, Washington, D.C. They went to see the movie An Inconvenient Truth and got home and said to their parents, we have to do something right now. We go solar. And Walter's mother, Anya Schoolman, said, I would love to. I've already looked into this. I got 2 estimates. I have no idea what I'm looking at, but it's way too much money. And she didn't want to kill the idea completely, so she said, if we're going to go solar, let's do this as a big group. Talk to some neighbors, and maybe if we do it together, we'll get a better price. And the boys made up flyers, and they went around their neighborhood, got a whole bunch of people interested, and it took them a long time to learn as much as they could about solar, to navigate the process and get incentives within Washington, D.C. But fast forward 2 years, and they're sitting around Anya's coffee table with a bunch of estimates from a bunch of installers. They chose one installer for the project, and of the 50 homeowners that were interested, 45 signed contracts and had solar installed, and that was the nation's first solar co-op. And word got out about it. It was keeping Anya really busy through DC, helping other neighborhoods go solar. She created a nonprofit that then expanded into a larger nonprofit that then went into multiple states, and we are Solar United Neighbors, and we're nationwide at this point because we have 2 different offerings available to people. We started back in 2015 in Florida, and we work in partnership with the League of Women Voters Florida. Everywhere that there is a League of Women Voters chapter, we launch a co-op. We're here in Miami-Dade through a grant from the Green Corridor, so thank you, Pinecrest. You sit on the Green Corridor, and you are helping make your community more resilient. So as I said, we have 2 different offerings available to homeowners. The first is the co-op. There's going to be a co-op launching this summer in June that homeowners can join. There's no cost. It's free to join. There's no obligation to go solar through a co-op. It's a large group of homeowners, 50 to 100 to 150 to 171 in our recent co-op that the mayor participated in and that Daniel has participated in. It can take 6 to 8 months because you're in a queue, waiting your turn to get an estimate, then you're moving forward. If you sign a contract, you go through the permitting process, and then your installation. It is a bulk negotiation to get a good price on a quality system, and you're signing an individual contract. Our function is just to organize and facilitate the co-op, send you email updates, let you know how things are going. If you're doing a contract and proposal, it's an individual conversation you're having with an installer because we are neutral on installers, on products, and mechanisms of finance. We also have a paid membership program that if you're interested in going solar, like next week, and you want to get estimates, but you don't know what you're looking at when you get the estimates, we have a paid membership program that's $85 a year. You would get 3 estimates on your own. We have a dedicated solar help desk that would compare the estimates apples to apples to apples so that you knew what you were looking at and that you were making a confident decision and moving forward going solar. So there are 2 options. If you want to go solar now, but you aren't confident looking at an estimate on your own, you can get help from our solar help desk, or you can wait through a solar co-op, or you can just get estimates on your own and go solar. We don't care how you go solar, we just want people to go solar. We're going to do a brief overview of solar technology. What we're talking about are photovoltaic panels. This produces electricity, and these are grid-tied systems, which means you are tied to the utility company. You're going to hear when you're getting an estimate or installers are talking to you, they'll be talking about panels, which could also be called modules. And if you have a bunch of modules together, they are called a solar array. You're going to hear them talk about a racking system. This is the racking mount, which attaches to your roof. Penetrations are made. Everything is weatherproofed. There are very strict, we have incredibly strict windstorm codes and weatherproofing codes in Miami-Dade County now. The racking mount is attached, panels attach onto the racking mount, they're clamped on, they are Miami-Dade hurricane windstorm compliant. Wiring runs underneath it, and that wiring is going to go through some form of an inverter, because when sun is hitting these panels, it's creating electricity in direct current or DC, and what your house is using is AC. So it's going to go through an inverter either on the side of your house, which is a central inverter, all the panels are strung up, and all of that electricity goes at once into a central inverter, or you can have microinverters, which are on your roof, and correspond to each panel individually, so each panel will convert DC to AC, DC to AC, DC to AC. They work independent of one another. When you hear terms, an installer will talk to you about kilowatts and kilowatt hours. Kilowatts is the overall capacity of a system, and the amount of electricity that it is producing at any given point in time is measured in kilowatt hours. For a simple math's sake, if you figured that a panel had 250 watts, if you had 4 of them together, it would be 1,000 watts or 1 kilowatt. 8 would be 2, and so on and so on and so on. What we see typically in Miami-Dade County is anywhere between 5 and 12 kilowatt systems. If you install a system that is larger than 10 kilowatts, it is, FPL requires that the homeowner carry $1 million in liability insurance. We have no reason why, we just know it is required. The utility will require $1 million in liability insurance. It can be done through stacking homeowners and car insurance together. It can be an umbrella policy, it can be a rider. It's something to speak to your broker and to understand that if you are going to size a system that large, liability insurance is required. So what makes a good site for solar is southerly exposure. A roof facing south, east and west can also work, but south is the bang for your buck. You don't want shading. We love trees, so if you have trees that are covering your roof, leave them because they're lowering the temperature inside your house, they're lowering the surface temperature outside. If you have to do pruning or you got Irma, congratulations, you now have a sunny roof and it can go solar. We are also looking for enough space on a roof in order to do an installation. So we look for a minimum of 200 square feet of continuous unobstructed space. So when you're thinking about going solar, take a look at your roof, think where is the southerly direction, where is east and west, are there any trees that are going to be shading my roof at any point in time during the day? You want at least 5 hours of direct sunlight hitting panels for them to generate electricity and make it worthwhile. Now again, we're talking grid-tied systems. So when you have a grid-tied system, during the day, your panels are working, they're producing electricity, and the house will take whatever energy it needs. Whether you are home, using a lot of electricity, or you're not home, and you set the AC up high and the lights aren't on, the house takes what it needs. And if there's any excess, it goes out into the grid and it's supplying energy to the homes that are nearby that are requiring electricity. The way that this is all kept track of what you're consuming and if you are consuming any excess is through net metering. Net metering allows electricity to flow to and from the customer and the utility company. 1 kilowatt hour that you produce is equal to 1 kilowatt hour that you consume. If you produce any extra energy or generate any extra surplus, it's credited to your account each month and it rolls over the way minutes used to. And if at the end of the year you have produced more than you've consumed, FPL buys it back at a wholesale rate of just under 3 cents a kilowatt hour. An installer will generally give you an estimate that will size you up to 100% of your bill because there's no financial incentive to produce more than what you are consuming. Now this says results vary based on roof size, electrical use, and budget. This is our my electric bill. There's Simon in the back, my partner. We went solar back in 2015. We did everything that we could to lower our bill before we went solar, and the bill was $110.29. And then we installed solar, and the bill dropped to $9.42. Our bill has been about $9.48 since 2015. We produce more electricity than we use, so we bought an electric car and we're charging our car with 100% sunshine. Now, when the grid goes out, when power goes down, if a storm comes, Panels shut off automatically as a safety mechanism. This is so you are not creating electricity and backfeeding into the grid when a line worker is out there trying to restore power to the neighborhood and they're removing trees from the power lines everywhere. If your panels were live and running, you'd be sending electricity out there and you could kill somebody. So the way that the system can work to keep panels working, you have two options. The first is what's called a Sunny Boy inverter with a secure power supply. It allows a homeowner to use up to 2 kilowatts of solar only while the sun is shining. Now that is meant for tablets, it's meant for your computer, it's meant to run fans. There are people throughout the state of Florida, through our co-ops, that said that after Hurricane Irma, they used the Sunny Boy, ran an extension cord, and plugged it into their high-efficiency refrigerator, and they weren't suffering food spoilage. The inverter will work only while the sun is shining, so when it gets dark out, the system turns off. The fridge would turn off, but in the morning, it turns back on again and keeps working. So that is a consideration that and it's an entry-level inverter. It's a central inverter system, and is an easy solution for homeowners, and an installer can usually mix and match the inverters for you and say you want to do a Sunny Boy and run that extension cord inside your house, and if you're going to do the rest of your house solar, you can do different kind of inverters. The other option is that you can get batteries to back up the system. Now you would want to consider batteries if you're dealing with frequent utility outages, if you're looking at critical loads at home, like if you have well pumps or you have to have medical equipment or you want a refrigerator to work, and it's usually what you do for emergency preparedness and in the event of an Irma. When you're talking about batteries, things that you should be considering is that there's a difference between energy and power. Energy is the amount of work that a battery can do over time, and it's measured in kilowatt hours. Power is the maximum work it can do at any given time, and it's measured in kilowatts. The way that these systems are going to be sized for you, the installer would come, they would see what your bills are, what your consumption is, and they would also talk to you, what we'll get into, is about critical home loads. Now, if an installer says to you, we can size out your entire house and run it on batteries, that might be a possibility, but the thing, and I'll be repeating this often, is that batteries drain on a house the same way they drain on your phone. If you're using it constantly and you're putting a lot of use to it, it's going to drain quickly. If you assign it to critical loads, like to run a well pump, to run the refrigerator, to run some fans, it's going to last you a much longer time. And that is a conversation to have with an installer, that they would talk to you about critical loads and that they can tie it into a sub-panel. It would just go on immediately, seamlessly, without you even knowing, in the event of a storm. And when the grid gets turned back on, the system would go back to being grid-tied. As an example, if you were to be installing a 5.6 kilowatt system, which is a small size system, we see those throughout the Grove, a 6 kilowatt hour battery bank would be assigned to it. And that would allow you to power your refrigerator, your microwave, lights, outlets, a cable modem. You wouldn't be hooking your central AC up to it, or a clothes dryer, or a hot water heater to it, because it's going to drain the batteries immediately. Again, the battery is just like your phone. So if you're texting on the phone, it's not going to be used a lot. But if you're streaming Netflix, you're going to drain the battery in a very quick amount of time. So if somebody says, I can size your entire house to that, they probably can, but it doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to have power continuously throughout the day. Things to be considering with how solar works with storage. If you're doing your installation, if you're already solar, you can retrofit and get battery backup. Or you can do batteries at the same time that you're having the installation done. If you're doing it as a retrofit, you might require additional hardware because there might be the need for another inverter to be added on, which I'll get into in a bit. What you have to keep in mind is that the solar would be charging the batteries for later use. The grid can also be charging the batteries. You would be looking to just top off the batteries prior to a storm. If you know that a storm is coming, just making sure that your batteries are full, and they would automatically kick on when a storm hits and the power goes out. The different type of batteries available are lead acid, lithium ion, and there are others that are entering the market. This is it's an emerging market, and there's even auto manufacturers. It's becoming incredibly competitive. Lead acid batteries are the small batteries that you would see like marine batteries, and they would bank them together, and it requires enough space to run. It is a very affordable option for some homeowners. There's maintenance required with lead acid batteries and all of the connections that are on them. The life cycle of them is not as long as other types, but it's something that is it's more cost efficient for many homeowners. The other option are lithium ion. This is like the Tesla Powerwall that people will salivate and look at and wait and wait and wait and wait because there are only there are only two companies that are certified to install them in South Florida, and all product is being diverted to Puerto Rico still. So if you're getting one, good luck. Congratulations, and we can't wait to see photos of it installed. The lithium-ion batteries, some of them they can be installed inside, they can be installed outside. Lead-acid batteries are usually inside a house, and they require thermal regulation. With lithium-ion, they have a longer lifespan. You're paying, you're getting what you pay for. So lithium-ions will cost more, and there are different kinds of lithium-ion batteries. There are lithium-ion batteries that use cobalt, and there are lithium-ion batteries that don't use cobalt. There are some that have issues where they need to be inside a house, like the manufacturer Sonnen. Their batteries are made inside a house, and it's a giant cabinet, like a piece of furniture, as opposed to an LG Chem or a Simplified that can be installed outside of your home. So when you're thinking about batteries, you would have to think about the space requirements, and that lead acid, as you can see in the picture, it's going to take like a filing cabinet size. Or you can have something like the lithium ion, which is looks kind of like a giant laptop affixed to the outside of your wall. The lithium ion is just more self-contained, and it doesn't have the maintenance upkeep that the lead acid would have, but they're both available, and you can talk to an installer and see what works best for you. Again, placement considerations and controlled environments, that's something that you should be thinking about. With lead acid batteries, the temperature should not be exceeding 80 degrees, which might be a challenge in our climate down here, especially if there's a storm. With lithium ion batteries, they can go up to 100 degrees, and some can even surpass that. So they're made for, a lot of lithium ion batteries are been deployed through the Caribbean because they're able to tolerate hot, humid, salty environments. Examples of costs, because again, we're saying that the lithium ion can be a costly investment, but it is something that's going to be there for 10 years without you thinking about it. If you're looking for the Powerwall as an example, a 13.5 kilowatt hour battery would run about $6,200, and then it's going to cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 to have that installed. And there might be some maintenance costs, or you have an installer just check it out every year, as you would some large electrical appliances or things that you would, even if you're doing a generator, you would have it inspected each year. If you were to be installing a 6 kilowatt hour battery, it would be the $6,000 and then $4,000 for the installation, and then $1,000 for maintenance. So it's about $11,000 that you're looking at. And another thing to be considering is that while there is this cost associated to it, and you're using the battery during your emergencies, if you're solar, you're using that every single day. You're lowering your electric bill every day, every month, and over the years. So it's something that you're adding on to something that's lowering your electric bill and making your home more resilient. Things that you'll want to consider as well are the warranties. There are two common warranties with batteries. There's a specific time period in amount of years, or there's duration or life cycle. So we could say that a battery has a warranty of 10 years, or it could say 10,000 cycles, which is working and turning on 10,000 times. Lithium-ion battery usually has a 10-year warranty. Sonnen will say that its capacity is 10,000 cycles for 10 years. Tesla will say it's free of defects for 10 years with unlimited cycles. Lead-acid batteries usually have a warranty of 2 to 5 years. So after 5 years, you'll be replacing them as you would like a battery on a car. You'd be replacing that over a period of time. You would do the same with a lead-acid battery. Solar panels themselves are warranted for 25 years. Other thing to consider is that if you are going solar and you are installing batteries at the same time, and those batteries are being powered by the panels, you can roll that cost into the 30% federal tax credit that you can get with solar. And there is, if you're going solar, there is a 30% federal tax credit. It's in effect this year, and it's in effect for 2019. After that, it's going to drop down to 27%. The year after, it's at 26%, then it drops down, then it drops down to 10%, and then it's gone. So we advise people to go solar now. Try to take the federal tax credit. It is based on your tax implication, and that is a conversation to have with an accountant. So if you were to be going solar and the batteries were fully charged from the solar, you could get the whole 30%. If you have, if the system is being charged by solar and also the grid at any time, you can get at least 75% of it. It's a conversation to have with an installer to say, is this system going to be, the batteries going to be powered by the sun, or will it be powered by the sun and the grid? And we'll get into that right here. The difference is what's called DC coupled and AC coupled. And if any of this sounds overwhelming, and it really should sound overwhelming, this presentation will be available on your city's website. And you can probably watch it in video as well, because we want you to have this to be able to look over and consider and contemplate, because it is an investment in your house. It's an investment that appreciates over time, and you can see it in the resale value, that if you go solar, a house will increase in value by about $15,000. So back to DC coupled and AC coupled. DC coupled, the solar panels are installed, there are inverters, and the inverters power the batteries, and they also power your house. If it is AC coupled, this is often seen in retrofits of homes. The solar panels, the energy goes into the inverters, and it goes into your house. And then there's another inverter that is installed that works with the batteries that converts energy and then sends it back into your house. And it's very technical and in the weeds. What you just need to keep in mind, what we say is with DC coupled, your solar and your battery, they hold hands. And with AC coupled, they're waving each other from across the hall. It's the only difference between them is how it would apply to the federal tax credit. With DC coupling, it's a lot easier to roll the entire thing into the 30% federal tax credit. And with AC coupling, it's more challenging. It isn't impossible, it's just that it's going to require more work for an installer to say, yes, these panels are giving the energy into the batteries, and at no point in time is the grid supplying energy into the battery. It is a conversation to have with an installer. Batteries, in terms of their similarities to generators, the things to consider is that batteries are silent, they do not off-gas, they do not emit any noise or any air pollution. If you are neighbors to somebody that has a standalone generator, then you know the sound and you know the smells that can be occurring. So that is something to keep in consideration, is that with batteries, it's silent. You don't even know that they're on. Typically, again, you're going to install and you're going to tie it into a critical load. What is the most important thing for you? Keeping windows open and running fans, making sure that your food is fresh. If you're on a well, making sure that the well pump is working. If you have medication that needs to be refrigerated, it's making sure that that stays cool and safe. A battery backup does not require you to pay for, install, or store any fuel. You're not relying on the delivery of any kind of fuel. The fuel is the sun, and it's right there. Just whether you want it there or not, it's right there. And when it is paired with a solar array, it's recharging from solar. So all of that you would keep in mind, and then if you're looking to get a proposal, these are some things that you're going to want to be looking for in the proposal, which is the full cost of the system, the installation, any additional equipment that's required, what are the milestones that you are required to pay from the time that you sign a contract to your getting your permits, to your having your installation, to your getting your permission to operate. You're going to want to know what the battery size is in kilowatts and its production in kilowatt hours. You want to know the model and the manufacturer, the inverter model and the inverter manufacturer, and you want every warranty that will be listed. The battery, the inverter, and the installer's workmanship warranty. So those are very important things to look at in batteries as well as going solar. You always want to know what the workmanship warranty is. Is it 1 year? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is permitting included, or do you as the homeowner have to pay for the permits? Now I said this is PV for my EV, so there's our car. As I said, we produce so much electricity that we bought an electric car to soak up the extra kilowatt hours. So are there any electric car drivers here? See one. Any people thinking about getting an electric car? There should be more than 4 hands going up. Every person here should be going to the nextcarpledge.org, signing up and saying that your next car will have a plug. Because when you don't have a tailpipe, you don't have road rage. It might have taken us a really long time to get here from Coconut Road, but we weren't angry, we weren't hostile, we had no emissions, we had no tailpipe, we just sat there listening to Supertramp on the radio. One thing to consider if you have an electric car is that, and this is done often in California, and this has been done by homeowners in our co-op in the state of Florida, is that your electric car is a giant battery that is just sitting on your driveway or in your garage. And if you're clever, checking the warranty of your car, you can get a small inverter and tie that inverter into the 12-volt battery, turn the car on, lock the doors, run an extension cord into your house, and power your fridge. And Simon, how long does, with our Chevy Bolt, we can keep the refrigerator going for 2 weeks?
Something like that.
Without thinking about it. And we can also unplug it and take the car out and drive and come back. Auto manufacturers are also getting into the battery business. Mercedes has announced that Nissan is doing whole vehicle to home, where they are going to be providing the home generation, the management, and the storage. So you can be plugging your car and powering your panels, getting your battery. But if you have an electric car, and people will say, are you saying go and get an electric car? Yeah, if you have 2 cars in your house, get rid of one and get yourself a used electric car and use that as your commuting car. If you're just going 80 miles round trip, you can get yourself a Nissan Leaf. You have a car that's sitting there with a small pure sine wave inverter, and you can go to Charlie Behrens, who is in our co-op, wrote a whole piece on how he was able to tie in his Nissan Leaf and keep his refrigerator running during a storm. So that is something else to consider. Again, we all know the cost of losing power. It's, the food loss. You should be thinking it's if the power is going out and you have to go to a hotel. You've lost all of the food in your refrigerator. Your well isn't working. You have medical equipment that isn't functioning. So whether you're getting battery backup or you're looking to do a home generator, weigh your costs out and how much is it costing you each time that you have to go, and just the emotional drainage of waiting in line to get ice. Now, as I said, we have a co-op that is going to be launching in June. We have an information session. The first one is going to be June 23rd, which is a Saturday morning at University of Miami's Architecture School. The page for this website is not live yet because it's May and we're going to be launching in June. There is an information session on August 19th at 10:30 in the morning at Pinecrest Gardens. So you can come. We explain the co-ops and a bit more details about how solar works, the co-op process, and solar economics, how the system pays itself off over time, and how you're making money over the course of a lifetime of a system. If you were installing like an 8 kW system, you'd be netting $26,000 just in electricity savings over time. This, just so you know, this is kind of wonky. It's not my voice, it's the microphone. So you can go to our website, solarunitedneighbors.org, get a lot of information. We have a lot of guides that you can download. We're going to be coming out with our resilience, which is a storage guide. We're having a battery guide. There's webinars that you can watch on battery backup as well that delve far deeper than what I'm talking. I'm just giving you the overview of the options, which is you can choose a Sunny Boy, you can do lead acid batteries, you can get lithium ion batteries. There are installers that are outside that you can speak to about different battery options. You can also look if there's the ability and you're thinking about doing natural gas. It's just, we would say, keep in mind that if you have a battery, there's no noise, it's whisper quiet. And that is all of my presentation on solar and your battery options.
Questions?
I can take a few quick questions if you have some.
What are the dates of the solar meetings again?
The first one is, you'll see them on the website when the page goes